this European tennis swing has been a ton of fun to watch, a ton of fun to handicap. The clay season is always kind of, I have a soft spot because it's more dynamic, more interesting. It's more challenging to handicap, and it's been a great year so far. And we're in for another couple of weeks of outstanding tennis, and this week is no different.
Yeah, obviously we generally get together and we talk about the Grand Slams. So how do these tournaments fare? Because there's the larger names in the Grand Slams. Is there more value? Because a lot of the time, say, and again, you're the expert on this one, and so here to ask you a question. But like, for example, like in football or something, the smaller tournaments or the lower leagues, say, there's more value in that. Would you say that's the same with these tournaments?
Boy, I would say there's more value if your general staking approach is trying to identify underdogs that have a chance at an upset. In general, on clay, most of who wins the match comes down to, who can capitalize on their break opportunities. And when you have, best of 5 men's tennis in the slam, it's a lot more difficult to sustain, lucky breaks. And win 3 sets. And so you generally see the stronger players win out in the slams. And, that makes it less fun if you like to take a punt on a longer shot or longer odds player. But this tournament and really all of the clay season so far has just been, a bettor's delight if you love the underdogs. Rafa Nadal was the heavy favorite heading into Monte Carlo. He gets upset by Fabio Fognini, who wins his first ever Masters 1000 title in spectacular fashion. And then, Nadal on home clay in Barcelona on court Rafa Nadal gets beat by Dominic Thiem, another huge upset. And, now we find ourselves in 2 of the smaller tournaments of the swing here. ATP Munich, the BMW Open in Munich going on. In beautiful Bavaria in Germany, and then the wonderful coastal city of Estoril in Portugal, and that in Munich, that's typically where Sasha Zverev dominates. Yeah, and he got upset today by a young Chilean player who's got a lot of promise. So it's been a very profitable spring if you're interested in kind of backing the up-and-coming players or the players with solid clay records who have never really been able to, capitalize on their opportunities. Like, they're all coming home this spring.
And then, so we've got 2 consecutive. We've got the Estoril and then ATP Munich. Which one do you want to start with? Which one's your favorite? Can you choose?
Well, so Estoril is I enjoy watching Estoril more personally because the crowd is extremely engaged for such a small tournament. This is the only real major tennis tournament that they have all year in Portugal, and they really care a lot. And so it's fun to watch the crowd, and they support their home team, their home players very, very impressively. Unfortunately, all the Portuguese have been eliminated from the tournament at this point, but it still is going to be a lot of fun. So let's talk about Estoril first. Quarterfinals are still in play. A guy that I feel like should be the clear odds-on favorite to win this, and Tsitsipas is through to the semifinals. I expect he'll probably come up against Gael Monfils, who's in play right now, likely gets this done in less dramatic fashion, I would expect, even though I know he got broken early in the second set here. But the nightcap down there is a really fun handicap. We have Uruguayan star Pablo Cueva taking on the only American who really has been able to kind of do anything of note on clay in Francis Tiafoe. Francis should be a live dog in this one. I know, I think it's a fair price on Cuevas to come away the winner, but I would expect this to be an extremely competitive match. My favorite look on this one is over 2.5 sets. I think this goes the distance. I'm looking at a price of 2.6 on that, which I think is wonderful value. If you don't have set betting at your handicapping shop of choice, The over on the games handicap is a nice look as well. I'm seeing 22.5 at about 1.95-ish, 1.91, depending on where you look. That's a nice look. This definitely has kind of a knockdown, drag out, deep into the third before we really know who wins. That's kind of how I read this in terms of either player's path to victory. So it's a nice look on an over, long match. The crowd should be entertained. This is going to be a fun one.
Okay, and you said that Tiafoe is a live dog here, 2.6. Will you take him on the outrights?
No, I think he probably comes up just short. Cuevas he has a knack for getting it done in three-set matches. So if I was going to play a side, or if I was going to look for, I want a winner in this, or I want some value on Cuevas, I'm probably looking at him, a correct score, 2-1. That's probably lined plus. That's probably plus 200, plus 250-ish maybe. I would say that's a decent swing that Cuevas wins in 3.
Okay, and then obviously the Estoril winner there, you said TC Plus obviously 2.63, Gaumont fees priced 5. Is it between these two? Do you think these two are
in
going
my
to go ahead of
opinion, it is. Yeah, in my opinion, it is. So I guess we haven't seen lines for tomorrow, but once all the dust settles and once things come out, I'm probably going to be looking at putting together a little double with Tsitsipas advancing and Malfi advancing to meet in the final.
All right. Now heading over to ATP Munich here. It looks like we've got a game in play. Is there anything that you've got on there right now? Matteo Berrettini currently favored here.
Yeah, I think that one just wrapped.
Berrettini
okay. Advances, which was a surprise. I did not expect him to make it to the semifinals of this tournament. That is a huge shock. He is a dead man walking against Roberto Bautista Agut tomorrow, in my opinion. I think RBA now is the class of this tournament. On the other semifinal, I do like Marco Cecchinato a lot. When that was initially lined, he was about -105 or 1.95, depending on how you price. And I saw value in that. I think he's coming into form. He was a semifinalist last year at Roland Garros. It was an impressive run. He eliminated Djokovic. No one really saw it coming. He's backed that up by picking up a title in South America this winter. And then he kind of went into a lull. He didn't really perform very well in the Sunshine Swing. He played fine, but not great in the couple of clay tournaments we've seen him in this spring now. But I think he's definitely coming into form, and he should be a higher a value play on the money line up to about -125, -130. It's moving in that direction. I think that's probably where this lands, and that's probably about the true odds as far as I make them. I think he's got about a 58, 60-ish% chance to win this match. So I like Cecchinato a lot on the money line. I grabbed it on the Open, and I think there's still value in that with the odds drifting even.
Yeah, and again, who do you like to win the ATP Munich?
Roberto Bautista Agut. Really? This guy is a freaking machine. I mean, it's wild that he's able to he doesn't look good from start to finish. He's not going to go out there and dominate his opponent. He's basically going to just frustrate them. Take his opportunities when they presented, and just kind of outlast them. I don't know what he does in the off season in terms of getting himself fit for tennis, but he does it in a way that he really impressed at the Australian Open, going 5 sets routinely and still having gas in the tank to come back 2 days later and do it again. It was very impressive. And I would expect that he kind of utilizes those tools in this tournament to take home the title. But that said, he doesn't have the class on clay that Marco Cecchinato has. And if Cecchinato continues to, you see this a lot. These smaller tournaments are perfect opportunities for players who are extremely good on clay to try to build up some steam. And Cecchinato does have that whip about him. He's clearly getting himself into form. for Madrid, for Rome. Those are the next two Masters that are coming up. There's a lot of points at stake in those. There's a lot of money at stake in those. And if you can get yourself into form to really compete at those tournaments, you can pick up some serious winnings. And it does feel like that's what he's building into, and then parlay that into another run at Roland Garros. And so Cecchinato is a guy that I would circle to continue to watch him improve over the next few weeks as he head into the only Clay Slam of the season.
Yeah. Well, talking of the Clay Slam and the king of clay, there is only one king of clay, and that is Nadal. Can anyone stop him? I know it's very early. I haven't even, to be honest, looked at the outrights yet, but I'm going to guess that Nadal is favourite here. Can anyone stop him? Is it a future that you jump on right now? What do you think?
No. He's in trouble this year.
Really?
He's in deep trouble this year.
Who's the new king?
He's in deep trouble. Dominic Thiem. We're at the stage in their careers where the transition really is happening. You saw it over the last couple seasons where Thiem played him competitively, couldn't quite get it done. Thiem worked his way higher and higher levels through the Roland Garros bracket. He made the quarterfinals 2 years ago. He made the semifinals 2 years ago. He made the finals last year. He's continuing to improve his game. He won the biggest title of his life this year in Indian Wells. Mm-hmm. That is a huge bellwether for Roland Garros. Indian Wells is one of the slower hard courts, and if you're playing well there, it just kind of is part of the natural cycle that you do well on the clay cycle. And not only did he upset Rafa Nadal in Barcelona on his home court, but he has got the game. He's got Djokovic. We know that. And so if he ends up in the same half of the draw as Djokovic opposite Rafa, that's your final. Team Nadal is your final if they're on the opposite sides of the draw. When that happens, you are going to want a team ticket in your pocket. And I tweeted about this last week. Team going into that match head-to-head with Nadal before he beat him head-to-head, he was 10-1 to win the French Open. That was a ludicrous price. He should have been in the 5-1 range at that time. Mm-hmm. He beats Nadal head-to-head, and not many of the books really reacted to that, which was shocking. I think it's just not many people are betting the French Open this far out, I guess, and so there really just wasn't much movement in the lines. And so Thiem was still 8-1 after he beats Nadal head-to-head. And we've seen this routinely year over year. The players that beat Nadal in heads-to-heads in the run-up to Roland Garros get bet heavily in the week leading up to the actual tournament starting. And so seeing him at 8-1, you know that when the tournament starts, he's going to be 3-4-1, second favorite, maybe even over Djokovic. And then when they meet in the head-to-head finals, you're going to see a line like Nadal minus 300, Nadal minus 400. There's going to be an easy way to come back across and protect your exposure in there if you've got a ticket in the 8-1, 9-1, 10-1 range. I don't know if you're really going to find many of those out there still. I kind of pushed all my connections like, hey, don't sleep on this. Get this ticket in your pocket now, because when they go head-to-head in Roland Garros, you're going to have an easy comeback. And so that's kind of how I'm expecting this to go down. And if he actually gets it done and actually wins the title, I will not be shocked whatsoever, because he's got the legs to do it. He's got the game to do it. Clay is his preferred surface, and he is the heir apparent, without a doubt in my mind, to Nadal once Nadal finally kind of decides, I need to start, thinking about retirement. I think it's going to be teams to lose for the foreseeable future.
Wow. You've heard it here first. And obviously we'll be speaking with, we'll be speaking in the lead up to the French Open there. But it'll be great to see how he feels when the French Open starts there. Now, just before I let you go, Well Kappa, just a couple of questions here. Angel Romero says, can you ask Well if he advises on a nice trifecta parlay in these tennis matches?
Trifecta parlay. Tomorrow, I would take a 3-way parlay look at Tsitsipas, Monfils, and Roberto Bautista Agut. I think those are your three strongest money line legs, and you parlay those together, you're probably going to get a price like plus 300, maybe plus 350.
Yeah.
We don't know. We don't know what the money lines are going to be yet. But those are the three guys that I would have the highest confidence making the final out of the four semifinals tomorrow. Cecchinato is the tightest.
Yeah.
But I like him a lot too.
Yeah. Yeah, and very, very quickly, so I forgot to ask this question as well. Obviously, heading into the French Open as well, women's tournament has always been a lot harder to predict. Is that going to be the same case for the French Open?
Boy, the women's tournament right now is on its head. There is no clear standout on clay to this point. Petra Kvitova looks the strongest of all of the women's players through 2019 to this point, but clay is her weakest surface by far. In the back of my head, in the heart, in my Romanian brother Alex's spirit, I will stump for Simona Halep to figure out a way to get it done. If I had only one look in the women's side of the French Open, it would be Simona. And she has an enormous hurdle to get over, in that she's not with her coach Darren Cahill anymore. He was a crutch for her, and kind of not a crutch necessarily, but like kind of a key kind of stopgap of stopping the meltdown while it was in progress. And without him in her corner, it might be a little bit more difficult, but I think she's got the best game. Sloane Stephens was kind of on my radar this year, but she's recently going through enormous personal changes in her life, as far as romantic relationship with former U.S. soccer player Josie Altidore. Who saw that coming? But yeah, I mean those types of things tend to be a pretty enormous distraction when it comes to winning. Focusing for 2 weeks and winning a Grand Slam. So I'm not expecting much from Sloane Stephens, and who knows what we see from Serena Williams on clay this year, if she even decides to play. It's going to be a wild card. So there's not a clear and obvious candidate for top player on the women's side, and so it should make it for a pretty interesting handicap. You probably want to spread your risk though, because it really could go a lot of ways.
I agree, and I think often as well, we will obviously I think we're doing round betting videos as well, so probably best to look at that. Well, Kappa, absolute pleasure as always talking with you. Give this guy a follow, whale_Kappa, and we will chat soon. Go and enjoy your sunshiny day, and we will speak soon. Have a great weekend.